Before we begin our demonstration, it is useful to become familiar with the surgical tray and the instrumentation of the Vilex TOV subtalar implant system. This titanium implant comes in 5 standard sizes and 3 larger special sizes available upon request. The implants and all the instruments are cannulated to facilitate the insertion. The sizers and implants are color coordinated for error-free usage. The shape varies from almost cylindrical in the smallest size, blue, to a definitely conical in the larger sizes. The implants and the sizers are color-coded to match each other. The implant size is defined by the diameter of the base of the cone. The standard sizes are 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and the special sizes are 14, 16, and 18 millimeter. The conical shape allows the gradual correction of the pronation as the implant advances through the sinus canalis. Another important feature of the Vilex TOV is the ability to retrieve or explant the implant when necessary using the grabber tool. The implant is threaded on the inside with a left-handed thread matching the tip of the grabber tool. The grabber fits inside the screwdriver and is screwed into the implant to provide a handle for removal.
This demonstration will show implantation of the TOV implant. The first step after making a lateral incision is to insert the probe from lateral to medial. After the dissection is done, without doing anything to cut the interosseous ligaments and create instability, we take the actual probe and pass it gently as we feel the sinus canalis open up from medial to lateral. As we pass that probe in, we can use some slight counterclockwise motions and large type of swoops to slightly dilate the sinus tarsi. Once we get the probe in the right position, we take the guide wire and pass it through the probe. As we feel the probe passing through the foot, we can actually tent the skin without having to cut the actual medial side of the foot. So we feel the probe, the guide wire through the probe, and then making sure that it's in the proper placement. Once we have that in the proper position, we take the probe off. Starting with the size 8, smallest sizer, we take the sizer, place it over the guide wire, and start to pass it into the sinus canalis. As it passes into the sinus canalis, you don't want to pass it too far so that it's actually jammed in the joint and the consistent diameter of the sizer is jammed across the sinus canalis. You can check with a C-arm if you're not sure of the placement. Once you do that, you take the foot, and since this is a left sawbone, I'm going to hold the calcaneus with my left hand, and I'm going to gently put it through range of motion, feeling for the valgus that's available. As I'm doing that, my right hand is checking the mid-tarsal joint motion. I want to make sure that anything that was excessive motion or hypermobility in the mid-tarsal joint, I'm loading with the 5th metatarsal while I feel for the calcaneus in valgus and varus. So if I feel that this is not enough, I take that sizer off. And now I advance to the 9 millimeter, which is color-coded with the actual implant. Makes it for ease of use and understanding. I pass it in, start to feel it compress into the sinus canalis, and you can check with a C-arm to make sure that you're not advancing it too far to where the diameter of the probe is causing too much dilation. Again, feel for the mid-tarsal joint and feel the calcaneus. We'll advance to the next size, pass it on, and this being the size 10. Again, feel to make sure it's the right size, check with a C-arm, take it off, insert the actual implant. So in this case, we're going to go with a size 10. And the screwdriver is also cannulated, makes for ease of use. Pass it over the guide wire, and then start to screw it in. And as you start to advance it, 2 ways you'll know you're in the right position. One is to first check, again, loading the mid-tarsal joint, feeling for locking of the mid-tarsal joint, and feeling for the amount of valgus that is still available in the calcaneus. If you're not quite convinced that that's enough correction, you can check with a C-arm and see where you are. And if you're not at the bisection of the talus, you can advance it further. Just take the screwdriver, pass it back on, and advance it a little bit further. If you feel that you're advancing it too far, the better thing to do, rather than advance it too far, is to take this implant out and go to a larger size. Once you still have that guide wire in there, it makes it easy to do all this, passing it back and forth on the actual implant. And then what we'll do is pass to the next size up and advance it. And as you can see, as the sizes get larger, the conical design is more absolute. And in this case, I can advance it so that only the middle of the actual implant, rather than the trailing edge, is at the bisection of the talus. It's probably the number one reason for explantation when an implant's placed too far medial beyond that bisection. Your better position would be to go to a larger size than to advance it too far medially. We've determined that this size implant is inadequate, so now we want to remove it. Well, as we start to remove it, it should come out. If we encounter spinning where the implant is starting to turn, but yet it's not coming out, what we can do is take the guide wire out, leaving the screwdriver in place, and pass the specialized removal tool, which has threads that will thread into the actual implant in a reverse fashion. So you're going to turn this in counterclockwise so it engages into the reverse threads in the cannulation of the actual implant. Once you feel it's engaged, you can actually turn the screwdriver, and while pushing down and turning the screwdriver, it actually will let the implant actually come out in one fell swoop by pulling on the actual hook design of the actual removal tool.